In the third year after my breakup with Zai Yu, his wealthy mother came to me. She said he had become a good-for-nothing and begged me to go back and save him. When I found Zai Yu, he was at a bar, chatting up girls with his shady friends. He only froze for a second upon seeing me, then followed it with a heartless sneer. "What, you want to get back together? First, kneel and kowtow 3 times to me, then we'll talk." I stepped forward and slapped him hard across the face. Suddenly, bullet comments appeared before my eyes. Is this villainous crazy? Does she have any self-awareness, daring to hit the male lead of a powerful family? Can't she see our sweet heroine is sitting right next to him? An idiot like her is supposed to be his unforgettable love, his cinnabar mole? More like a smear of mosquito blood. With the male lead's temper, he's going to slap her face swollen. Our darling girl is so gentle and considerate, a heaven-sent little wife. She never talks back to the male lead, as obedient as a kitten. Anyone would know who to choose. No wonder she's the evil villainess. A vain woman who doesn't listen to the male lead is the worst. Pleasing a man is a woman's best dowry. I hope she dies soon. Can't wait for the male lead to blow up. Zai Yu blow up at me. I laughed. In front of everyone, I said to him, "Apologize to me." A red handprint was emblazoned on Zai Yu's handsome face, his eyes red with anger. Yet through gritted teeth, he forced out 2 words. "I'm sorry." The entire room was in an uproar. People whispered in fear that the demon who could control Zai Yu had truly returned. I nodded in satisfaction. I thought they had all forgotten. This young master of the Zai family had been trained by me 3 years ago into the most obedient dog. When Zai Yu's wealthy mother found me, I was preparing to go abroad for further studies. "Yao Yin, I'm begging you as your auntie, please go back to little Yu and save him, okay?" After we met at the designated cafe, Mrs. Zai got straight to the point, shedding a few crocodile tears as she spoke. "Ever since he broke up with you 3 years ago, he's become more and more degenerate. Now he's a complete good-for-nothing heir, doing nothing but eating, drinking, and playing all day. This child has been spoiled since he was young. He won't listen to me or his father. If he continues like this, he'll be truly ruined." I stirred the coffee in my cup with a spoon, a smile playing on my lips after hearing her out. Because it was also Mrs. Zai who had found me 3 years ago, in this very same cafe, and thrown a check in my face, telling me to leave Zai Yu. She arrogantly berated me, saying I was some poor nobody unworthy of controlling Zai Yu. That men were born to stand above women, that instead of trying to climb the social ladder, I should read a book. That poverty was the original sin, and he would be better off without me. She had completely forgot that it was because of me that Zai Yu had been willing to curb his temper, finish university, and obediently enter the company to prepare to take over the family business. I looked up at Mrs. Zai, my expression no longer holding the fear and unease of 3 years ago, but replaced with mature composure. "All right, I agree." Before Mrs. Zai could smile, she heard the rest of my sentence. "But this comes at a different price. How long I stay by his side depends on how much you pay. When the time is up, I will leave immediately." Mrs. Zai's face turned green. "Yao Yin, how did you become such a vain person? Can you put a price on matters of the heart? You are such a disappointment." Without another word, I stood up to leave. Mrs. Zai's expression changed in an instant. She fawned over me, promising to transfer the money immediately. I chuckled softly. I had learned the lesson that kindness gets taken advantage of 3 years ago. The night I received the $5 million deposit, I found the bar where Zai Yu was and pushed open the door to his private room. The noise inside instantly ceased. Everyone turned to look at me. Someone opened his mouth to curse. "Who the hell are you? Is this a place you can just walk into? Get the hell out." I ignored the lackey and scanned the room. It was filled with Zai Yu's shady friends, each with a girl in his arms, all in low-cut tops and miniskirts. The table was laden with expensive liquor and food, a scene of luxury and decay. My gaze landed on Zai Yu in the corner, smoking with one leg crossed over the other. He had dyed his hair gray and was looking down. Sitting next to him was a girl who looked about 60% like me. I was colder, she was purer. Zai Yu's childhood friend recognized me, his voice filled with shock. "Holy crap, isn't that the legendary Yao?" He clamped a hand over his unruly mouth, but it was too late. Just hearing the syllable Yao, Zai Yu's head shot up. When our eyes met, he was visibly stunned. The colorful, shifting lights in the room suddenly dimmed, and I couldn't see his expression clearly. When the lights came back on, his face held only disgust and mockery. Zai Yu leaned back, throwing an arm around the girl beside him. Her face instantly flushed red, and she leaned against him like a shy, delicate bird. Unfortunately, Zai didn't appreciate her shyness. He was too busy humiliating me with a nonchalant air. Well, well, look who it is. Isn't this the gold digger who abandoned me for money? Zai looked me up and down, and upon finding no luxury brands on me, he felt a surge of dark satisfaction. Yao Yin, you're still as poor as ever. What, you want to get back together? First, kneel and kowtow 3 times to me, then we'll talk. His friends burst into laughter. Besides his childhood friend, no one recognized me. They insulted me with sharp, cruel words. Damn, how could any idiot dump brother you for money? If I were a woman, I'd be licking his boots every day. He could hit me, slap me, make me call him daddy, I'd do anything. Is this woman here to leech off him? Why does she look so much like Zhang Chun? Did she get plastic surgery? God, can you not be so disgustingly desperate? You can't even compare to a single finger of Zhang Chun's. She's the one who deserves to be brother Yu's wife. Zhang Chun, I presumed, was the girl next to him. Her name, which means pure, suited her. Hearing these voices, Zhang Chun looked at me from Zai Yu's embrace with a hint of pity, mixed with a good measure of smugness and contempt. She probably pitied me for going so far as to get plastic surgery to look like her just to get close to Zai Yu, yet not even having the right to sit beside him. Among everyone, only Zai Yu's childhood friend remained silent and anxious, constantly glancing between Zai Yu and me. He opened his mouth as if to explain something, but was drowned out by someone else's loud voice. Just then, countless bullet comments appeared before me. The evil villainess is finally here. She's supposed to be the male lead's unforgettable love, but she doesn't look like much. Far worse than our darling girl. Don't worry, the villainess will only be around for a little while. The male lead has long forgotten her and won't give her any face. I just have to laugh at this part of the plot. The villainess politely tries to persuade the male lead to return to his career, but he doesn't even give her a second glance. So humiliating, ha. Originally, I had planned to be polite with Zai Yu. After all, this was our first meeting in 3 years. But after reading the bullet comments, I changed my mind. We had been apart for too long. Someone seemed to have forgotten the rules. I needed to remind him. Zai Yu was still preening. He had just turned to praise his lackey for the good insults when a large shadow fell over him. I had walked right up to him, raising my arm high, and slapped him hard across the face. Smack! The room fell silent. For a few seconds, everyone seemed to be frozen, as if the pause button had been pressed. Mouths hung open wide enough to fit an egg. Zhang Chun was the first to react. She glared at me, her eyes filled with tears. Miss, how could you hit someone? Don't you have any decency? Even if you have a poor education and bad upbringing, that's no reason to come here and harass people. Young Master Zai is not in the same class as you. What a well-reasoned, profanity-free scolding. I found it amusing, such a righteous person. Then why did she seem to be enjoying it so much when I was being slandered and insulted just now? A double standard of justice, applied only to men. Ah, is this villainess crazy? Does she have any self-awareness, daring to hit the male lead of a powerful family? She even scared our sweet heroine. Baby, you told her off. You were just too gentle. Next time, curse this bitch out. An idiot like her, who's bound to die in 3 chapters, is supposed to be his unforgettable love, more like a smear of mosquito blood. With the male lead's temper, he's going to slap her face swollen. Our darling girl is so gentle and considerate, a heaven-sent little wife. She never talks back to the male lead, as obedient as a kitten. Anyone would know who to choose, right? No wonder she's the evil villainess. A vain woman who doesn't listen to the male lead is the worst. Pleasing a man is a woman's best dowry. I hope she dies soon. Can't wait for the male lead to blow up. I was utterly astonished. If being a man-pleasing, delicate wife was what it took to be the female lead, then I thought being an evil villainess was just fine. What were men? They were born to serve women. Were they so eager to see Zai Yu blow up at me? I smiled faintly. Then they were in for a disappointment. I looked down at Zai Yu from my superior height and said, word by word, apologize to me. A blonde guy next to him spat and stood up, pointing at my nose. Who the hell do you think you're telling to? Shut your mouth. Zai Yu's angry roar cut the blonde guy off. The handprint was still on his handsome, pale face, and his eyes were red with fury. He met my gaze, and I could see the glint of tears in the corners of his eyes. Yet through gritted teeth, he forced out 2 words. I'm sorry. The entire room was in shock. Zai Yu's childhood friend muttered in terror. Crap, it's over. The only demon in the world who can control Brother Yu is really back. I nodded in satisfaction. I thought they had all forgotten. This young master of the Zai family had been trained by me 3 years ago into the most obedient dog. All of you get out. When Zai Yu gave the order, no one dared to disobey. Except for Zhang Chun, everyone scrambled out of the private room. The gossip about young Master Zai getting slapped would probably spread through their circle in no time. Seeing that I was still standing there, Zhang Chun frowned. "Miss, please leave. Didn't you hear what young Master Zai said? Can't you even show basic courtesy? Are you really a vocational school graduate?" Zai Yu, dizzy with anger, snapped irritably, "I was telling you to get out. Leave now." Zhang Chun froze, then burst into tears of grievance. Although they weren't together yet, it was clear she had already placed herself in the position of Zai Yu's girlfriend. She shot me a resentful glare, the kind you give to the other woman, and ran out crying, her retreating figure like a fragile white flower. Nice, very delicate. Too bad Zai Yu had no appreciation for such things. He didn't even glance in her direction. What is the male lead doing? How could he drive his wife away? Shouldn't he have yelled at the villainess and comforted his wife? It has nothing to do with the villainess. It must be because our darling girl talked a little too much with the second male lead yesterday, and the male lead saw it and got jealous. Our male lead is such a jealous baby. I hope he realizes his true feelings soon and properly coaxes our girl. But seeing him deliberately spend time alone with the villainess just to spite our girl still makes me a little angry. Seriously, is he just going to let this bitch get lucky? Don't worry, the male lead knows what he's doing. He'll never let the villainess lay a finger on him. It's all just an act. After enjoying the ridiculous speculations of the bullet comments, I sat down opposite Zai Yu. "Your taste has changed." Zai Yu answered my question with a resentful one of his own. "Weren't you about to go abroad? What do you want from me?" I raised an eyebrow. "How did you know I was going abroad?" Zai Yu was speechless. Paying so much attention to me. "You don't still like me, do you?" I leaned forward, my gaze aggressive. A familiar sense of pressure washed over him. Zai Yu subconsciously averted his eyes, the tips of his ears turning red, though his words remained stubborn. "Who likes you? What a joke. It's been 1,186 days. I've long forgotten you." I stood up with a half smile. "All right. I forgot to tell you, I moved my things back into the apartment we used to live in. Since you're not interested, I guess I'll have to live there by myself." Zai Yu shot to his feet, his expression complicated. "You never terminated the lease on that apartment in 3 years." I gave him a meaningful look, said nothing, and pushed the door open to leave. Zai Yu yelped from behind me, like a constipated puppy. Hey, let's talk this out. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. I never said I wouldn't go. Damn it, you abandoned me for 3 years. Can't you at least pretend to beg me a little?" "Yao Yin, get back here." The corners of my mouth lifted. I lit a cigarette at the door and leaned against the wall. After my adoptive mother passed away, I would occasionally have a smoke. I quietly watched the smoke rise, listening to Zai Yu's soft muttering from inside the room, every word laced with excitement. "Thank you, Buddha, Bodhisattva, Queen Mother of the West, and Lord Guan Yu for answering my prayers. She really came back for me." I lowered my eyes, hiding the look in them. "Idiot. It wasn't the gods who answered your prayers. It was your mother's money." Zai Yu and I met in university and were together for 5 years. During that time, he had countless falling outs with his family. Even the richest heir is broke when his allowance is cut off. So we rented a tiny 1-bedroom apartment and lived there together for 3 years. After we broke up, I never terminated the lease. I would occasionally come back to clean. If I had to give a reason, it was probably because after my adoptive mother died, this was the only place I had left that I could call home. I never expected it would have another use. When I saw the nostalgic and restrained expression on Zai Yu's face as he walked into the apartment, I didn't explain the real reason. After all, I was only here for the money. Why say anything that wasn't to my advantage? Letting him think I missed him wasn't a bad thing. It had only been a week since I last cleaned, so the place was spotless, still looking the same as when we were in love. Zai Yu walked around once, then turned his back to me to face the wall. I caught a glimpse of his red-rimmed eyes as he turned. I knew he was letting his imagination run wild again. Let him be. I was tired after a long day. I dragged my suitcase into the bedroom. Zai Yu tried to follow me, but I slammed the door shut with a bang, heartlessly shutting him out. When I opened the door after changing into my pajamas, he was still standing there, his head hanging in disappointment. If he had a tail, it would surely be drooping. I tossed a set of clean men's pajamas onto the sofa. Change into these. He looked up, his eyes shining, his imaginary tail wagging like a propeller. I added, I'm sleeping in the bedroom tonight. You take the sofa. And just like that, the tail drooped again. When Zai came out of the bathroom in his pajamas after a shower, I almost wanted to whistle. It's true what they say about looks reflecting one's heart. Someone as childish and naive as Zai naturally looked young. It had been years since graduation, but with his hair smoothed down, he still looked as fresh as a college student. And I suspected he deliberately left his pajama top unbuttoned. It conveniently exposed his well-defined 8-pack abs and V-line. Combined with his pale skin and the water droplets trickling down, from the perspective of a normal adult, I had to admit it was very sexy and alluring. But I hadn't forgotten my purpose for being here. A relationship based on money was better kept simple. I didn't want any unnecessary complications. I calmly turned around, went back to my room, and got into bed. Crack! I thought I heard a young man's heart shatter behind me. That night, I had a rare good night's sleep. I usually have trouble falling asleep, but strangely, I always slept soundly when I was with Zai. Maybe it was because he was so simple-minded that I couldn't bring myself to be on guard around him. I don't like enclosed spaces, so I left the bedroom door open. Waking up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, I took half a step and kicked something. I turned on the lamp and froze. Zai was curled up by my bed, sleeping on the cold floor with only a jacket for a cushion. Coming to my senses, I crouched down and stared at him, thinking, is he going to start talking in his sleep? Yinian, don't leave me. Can we get back together? He really did. I leaned close to his ear, my dark hair brushing against his cheek. Zai, your acting is really terrible. Zai's face turned visibly red. Perhaps he also knew that we weren't on the same level intellectually. I had always been able to see right through him. Then what's your answer? Zai, having nothing left to lose, opened his eyes. His starry eyes were as deep as ink. Let's get back together. Let's forget the past and start over. I remembered how in TV shows, when the male lead gets back together with the woman who betrayed him, it's usually after he's gotten his revenge. I had never seen someone like Zai, who hadn't even forgiven what happened, yet was already begging to reconcile. Just a few hours ago at the bar, he had looked at me with a fierce expression, as if he wanted to eat me alive. I took back what I said earlier. Zai's acting skills had improved by more than just a little. In the dim light, Zai's heartbeat was especially clear. I met his gaze for a moment, then stood up, stepped over him, and walked to the bathroom. I left him with only one sentence. Good night, sweet dreams. The next morning, I woke Zai up at 8 o'clock sharp. I had eventually dragged him onto the sofa to sleep. The precious young master of the Zai family couldn't get sick on my watch. When I woke him, Zai was still half asleep. What is it, Yinian? Do we have a morning class today? Morning class? He was really out of it. It had been years since graduation. Get up, eat breakfast, do some reading, and then go dye your hair. Dye my hair? Zai was wide awake now, opening his mouth to protest. Gray looks so good, I don't want to. His eyes met my narrowed ones. He changed his tune and finished crisply, dye it, I must dye it. I should have dyed it long ago. Am I seeing things? Is this obedient person the male lead I know? Wasn't he the one who loved freedom and hated being tied down? What is he doing now? I'm shocked. What's the difference between the male lead and a dog? The villainess barely pays him any attention, and he's already talked himself into forgiving everything, hasn't he? No, seriously, how did she train this dog? I need a tutorial. Are there any flashbacks to their relationship from 3 years ago? I'm so curious. So this is the power of the cinnabar mole? It's terrifying, but I'm still on the heroine's side. I prefer gentle, obedient women. They're the best match for a cool guy like the male lead. The person above has been fooled. The male lead is playing a long game. His goal is to make the heroine realize that he's the one she loves, not the second male lead. How could a money-grubbing villainess like her have a good ending? No one loves someone unconditionally. How long is the male lead going to pretend to be nice to the villainess? Hurry up and confess to the darling girl you truly love. I want to see some sweet moments. I'm tired of watching this slutty bitch. When Zai returned to the Zai Corporation with a head of black hair, the entire company was in an uproar. Everyone had seen this young master with red, orange, yellow, and blue hair, but never black. When a rebellious, edgy young master suddenly transforms into a domineering CEO, everyone has to gossip about the reason behind it. Soon, the slapping incident at the bar was dug up, followed by my identity and photos. The employees of Zai Corporation took one look and found me incredibly familiar. Isn't this little Zhang, who just started working at the company not long ago? Someone immediately went to confirm with Zhang Chun. She didn't explain, just lowered her head shyly. In everyone's eyes, this was an admission. The news that Zhang Chun was Zai Yu's girlfriend of 5 years spread like wildfire. Everyone said that CEO Zai had been madly in love with her back then, until the story reached me through the bullet comments. I knew it was time for me, the evil villainess, to play my part again. Getting rid of Zai Yu's romantic entanglements was one of the tasks his mother had given me. The day after Zai Yu returned to work, I dressed up beautifully and walked into the Zai family's company. "Who are you looking for?" The receptionist was busy with something else and asked without looking up, catching sight of me out of the corner of her eye. "I'm looking for Zai Yu, CEO Zai." The receptionist finally looked up, and her eyes widened when she saw my face. After all, my photo had already been circulated in all the employee gossip groups. Realizing who I was, she treated me with extreme politeness and quickly made a call to report my arrival. In less than 5 minutes, Zai Yu appeared before me. He was pleasantly surprised. "Yao Yin, what are you doing here?" "I'm here to see someone." "What? Who is it? Tell me. I promise I won't fire him." "Silly, aren't you a person?" "Oh, hee, then it's fine." The receptionist witnessed the entire exchange, her jaw nearly hitting the floor. Zai Yu used to look down on people, acting all high and mighty. And now, if you threw him a bone, you'd be afraid he'd fight a dog for it. In the time it took for Zai Yu and me to walk to his office, the news had already started to ferment throughout the company, beginning with the receptionist. Slacking off to gossip at work was the greatest joy. In a short while, the entire company knew that Zhang Chun had been lying. She was a fake. CEO Zai's real ex-girlfriend had come to the company today. They said she was beautiful and cool, like a queen next to CEO Zai. Zhang Chun, on the other hand, was not having a good time. Many people already disliked her for constantly clinging to CEO Zai. Now she was being ridiculed, called a clown desperate to climb the social ladder. Is the villainess an idiot? She must have come to the company on purpose. Does she have to be so ruthless? It's just a small misunderstanding. Can't she just turn a blind eye? She's so petty, what a bitch. I feel so bad for our darling girl getting yelled at, sob. It's not her fault she looks like her. Can't we just kill off all these stupid cannon fodder characters? But if the heroine knew it was a misunderstanding, why didn't she explain? Yesterday, people gave her lots of small gifts to suck up to her, and she accepted them all. Someone even transferred her 20,000 yuan to help with a promotion, and she didn't return it. I don't think that's very ethical. How can someone be so misogynistic, my God? The heroine didn't force them with a gun. It's their own fault for being stupid. Why not take free stuff? Besides, our darling girl never admitted to being the ex-girlfriend. The employees were the ones who overthought it. Is it ethical for the villainess to steal the male lead? While the bullet comments were making excuses for their darling girl, I had just sent Zai Yu off to a meeting. His mother sat at the head of the table, and he sat beside her, yawning sleepily. He played on his phone for a while, then simply laid his head on the table and secretly napped. His mother reminded him to pay attention, but he ignored her, until he wanted to change positions, looked up, and his eyes met mine through the glass wall. In the next second, all of Zai Yu's sleepiness vanished. He sat up as straight as a steel plate. He even picked up a pen from the table and started taking notes on the meeting content, looking very serious. His mother was initially surprised, but then she saw me standing outside and instantly understood. She wore an expression that was both helpless and relieved. How could she not feel helpless when the precious son she had raised in the palm of her hand wouldn't listen to her, but only to a young woman? As for me, I just wanted to tell her not to be relieved too soon. I watched the strokes of Zai Yu's pen as it moved across the notebook and silently read what he was writing. Yao Yin, 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 Yao Yin. If you like the name that much, you can have it. Zai Yu had started to work seriously, so I prepared to leave. But I hadn't gone far when I saw Zhang Chun waiting for me. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying, as if she had suffered a great injustice. There was no one else around, so I walked up to her and asked, "Are you looking for me?" Tears instantly welled up in Zhang Chun's eyes. "Miss Yao, I have no grudge against you. Why are you targeting me?" I raised an eyebrow. "If you're talking about ruining your plan to use my name to get ahead, then I can only say, well done on my part." "You," Zhang Chun was choked for words, her face full of unwillingness. What right do you have to say that? You're even more shameless than me. Don't think I don't know what you're hiding. You were kicked out 3 years ago because you failed to climb the social ladder. I don't know what tricks you used to come back, but I won't let you hurt young Master Zai. You're not worthy to stand by his side. My expression turned cold. I took a half step forward, using my height advantage to look down on her. Zhang Chun flinched and looked away. Whether I'm worthy to be by his side isn't for you to decide, but I can decide the fate of a little imposter like you. You can go and curse me out to Zai Yu all you want. I won't stop you. But what do you think he'll do after he hears it? Zhang Chun's face turned pale. Of course, she knew the consequences of badmouthing me to Zai Yu. Otherwise, she wouldn't just be yelling at me. Miss Yao, I was wrong just now. Actually, I have something I'd like to discuss with you. Zhang Chun's attitude suddenly softened. She seemed to be making a difficult decision, struggling for a long time before saying, I'm willing to share Zai Yu with you. Men are different from women. It's normal for them to have a few wives. I will be a qualified and tolerant first wife and maintain our family's reputation. I won't be jealous anymore. With you helping me take care of young Master Zai, I'll be much more at ease. I was struck dumb by her words, my mouth agape in shock. I subconsciously asked, how are men different from women? Zhang Chun said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Of course, a woman can only have one husband. After marriage, she should be a good wife and mother. She can't be promiscuous. What's the difference between that and a prostitute? I advise you, Miss Yao, to maintain your self-respect. Otherwise, who will want you after young Master Zai abandons you? There were so many things wrong with what she said that I didn't even know where to begin. And she wasn't pretending. She was genuinely advising me. I suddenly lost the desire to argue with her. It was worse than playing a lute to a cow. It was like playing a lute to an unknown species. I patted her on the shoulder and offered some sincere advice. Your priority right now isn't to be the first wife, but to go to the hospital and see a psychiatrist immediately. Did evolution skip you? Go home and find something to do with your life. Don't just think about men the moment you open your eyes. The world is so big, it's not just about love. The person you should love the most is yourself, and the only one who can save you is yourself. Think about it. Is the villainess sick in the head, telling someone to see a psychiatrist? I think what our darling girl said is right. Isn't this the current social environment? What power do we ordinary girls have to resist? Darling, I support you. What era is this to still have such thoughts? In comparison, the villainess seems so normal. No wonder the heroine hung around the male lead for 3 years, and the moment the villainess returned, it was all for nothing. Their charisma is on completely different levels. I really want to advise all you girls out there. Only when you love yourself with all your heart will others love you. If you place yourself in such a low position, how can you expect men to do otherwise? The person above is right. The villainess is selfish and cunning, but she's definitely selfish enough. She will never love anyone more than she loves herself. She has a high sense of deservingness. No matter how much the male lead loves her, she'll think it's what she deserves. This kind of bad girl isn't popular with women, but men are crazy about her. No wonder the male lead acts like he's possessed when he's with her, being trained like this. Wait, I'm starting to side with the villainess. She's selfish, yes, but where is she bad? We don't know the inside story of why she left back then, so why are we labeling her? Why can't the male lead treating her well be because she deserves it? I'm still waiting for the plot twist. Male lead, stop acting. Hurry up and say that you actually love the heroine. If you wait any longer, the second male lead will snatch her away and you'll have no wife. The person above is delusional. At this point, you're still deceiving yourself. Anyone with eyes can see that as long as the villainess is around, the male lead will never fall in love with anyone else. Before I left, I tucked the phone number of a familiar psychiatrist into Zhang Chun's hand. As for what the bullet comment said, for the first time I agreed. I was indeed not a positive character. The bullet comments were always curious about how I trained my dog. It wasn't difficult, I just did 3 things. 1, I always stuck to my bottom line. 2, I had a high sense of deservingness. 3, I made him believe he was deeply in love with me. As long as Zai Yu crossed my bottom line, I could pack my bags and leave immediately. Regardless of his status, I was always prepared to leave, made a mistake and want to reconcile, then pay an infinitely high price. Perhaps at first, he was just not used to life without me. But when he came to me with gifts that emptied his wallet, handed over his phone password, changed all his social media profile pictures and backgrounds to mine, and knelt down crying and begging me, He must have believed from the bottom of his heart that he was madly in love with me. How much he truly loved me didn't matter. In the early stages of a relationship, as long as Zai believed I was the girl he had invested the most in, his one true love, that was enough. And I just needed to feel that everything he did was what I deserved. How could I not be deserving? When I first met Zai, he was fighting with people on the street. He had paid his way into school, never opened a textbook, and was guaranteed to fail every subject. He stayed out all night gaming and partying, spending money without a second thought. He frequented bars, drank, and was always surrounded by beautiful women, living a chaotic life. After he got together with me, he was gradually tamed. He quit all his bad habits and never skipped a single class again. I was the one who made him a better person. Why wouldn't I be deserving? I heard that Zhang Chun resigned and left. No one knew where. I put these things out of my mind and continued to help Zai get on the right track, waking up on time in the morning, quitting smoking, drinking, and gaming, and reading books on finance and management in his spare time. At the company, he was no longer just a figurehead, but genuinely participated in every project, properly filling the role of CEO. I accompanied him to all the social events he had once refused, expanding his network. I guided him to handle problems calmly instead of with a temper. For half a year, it was as if Zai and I had returned to our university days. In the small apartment, I would read academic papers from abroad while he reviewed documents beside me. Day after day passed. We had a tacit understanding not to bring up the topic of getting back together, simply keeping each other company. We took turns cooking and doing chores, with Zai even doing a little more. As he stepped into the professional world, he matured visibly, but only on the outside. At home, Zai was still the same childish guy who would wear a pink apron and excitedly tell me what delicious food he had made that day. Sometimes, watching Zai carefully cut fruit for me, I really wanted to reach out and pat his head. But I always held back. This false happiness came to an end the day his mother paid me the final installment. The accompanying text read, "Miss Yao, it's time to let him stand on his own 2 feet." It was night when I received the money. Zai had fallen asleep on the sofa, tired from reviewing documents. Next to the sofa was a folding bed where he had slept for the past 6 months. And I discovered that he really did talk in his sleep, and the content was always similar. "Yinian, wake up, we're going to be late. No class tomorrow, let's go out and play. Yinian, you look so beautiful today." It was as if he was trapped in those 5 years, never having moved on. I had heard that wealthy families produce devoted lovers. Only when their material needs are met can they truly love someone with all their heart, without reservation. Unfortunately, that wasn't what I needed. In my eyes, there were many things more important than love. When Zai stopped me at the airport, a thunderstorm was raging outside. He didn't have an umbrella and was soaked like a drowned rat. Pathetic and miserable. In a corner of the airport, I stood with my suitcase, much more presentable and dry than he was. Water trickled down Zai's cheeks. I couldn't tell if it was rain or tears. "Yao Yin, are you going to leave without a word again?" I didn't speak, just showed him the record of his mother's payment to me. Sometimes, the truth is louder than words. Zai stared blankly at the phone screen, shivering from the cold. I thought he would give up and leave in anger, putting an end to our relationship. But instead, Zai just looked away. He stopped looking at the evidence and stared straight at me. "Yao Yin, after all this time, don't you know? No matter why we broke up or for how long, if you just beckon, I will come back to you immediately, without hesitation." Zai let out a sneer, as defiant as his rebellious younger self. "It's just about money, right? That's not a problem. I should be glad I'm a rich kid, otherwise I would never have met you in this lifetime. It doesn't matter why you're with me. Marrying a good wife is my honor." It seemed that no one could remain unmoved by such words. Unfortunately, the person standing here was me. I looked at Zai for a long time and sighed. I slowly told him some things he didn't know. I was raised by my adoptive mother. She was my only family in the world. 3 years ago, my adoptive mother fell seriously ill. His mother used this to threaten me, throwing money in my face. If I took the money, my adoptive mother would get a better medical team. If I didn't, she would get nothing. I chose the former. As for why I didn't rely on Zai, besides the fact that he loved me, he was just a child who hadn't grown up. Without his family's money, he was no different from being useless. He would get fired from part-time jobs after a few days for being insubordinate, and nearly got into a fight with his professor over his graduation thesis. We were already running out of money, yet he didn't know how to be frugal. From small chores to basic life skills, I had to teach him everything, step by step. I could talk about love with this version of Zayu, but I could never talk about a future. I grew up in a family where I had to be self-reliant from a young age, the complete opposite of a pampered young master like him. Weighing the pros and cons was second nature to me. A sum of money that could temporarily save my adoptive mother's life, and a rich kid with no future. I made my choice, and for 3 years I never regretted it. I didn't owe Zayu anything. When we were together, I loved him with all my heart. Otherwise, how could a selfish person like me have tolerated Zayu for 5 years? And of course, Zayu didn't owe me anything either. He was the one who made me feel a love that was unique in the world. Whatever he had, whether it was money or anything else, he would give it to me without reservation. After hearing everything I said, Zayu's head drooped powerlessly. He understood why I was still choosing to leave now. Because in the 3 years we were apart, he had degenerated back to his old self, not changing at all, still the same person who was useless without his family's money. It only proved how right my choice had been. After leaving him, I became more and more outstanding. My future was limitless after studying abroad. Except for family background, I surpassed Zayu in more than just a few ways. And with the money his mother had just given me, I would never have to worry about tuition and living expenses again. My future was bright, while Zayu's was uncertain. And this was after I had spent half a year guiding him to change. As our conversation came to an end, Zayu took a few steps back, clearing the path for me. Yaoyin, you can go. I won't stop you again. As I walked past Zayu, for the first time, I didn't see tears in his eyes. Instead, there was a determination I had never seen before. When we meet again, I will have grown into a man worthy of standing by your side. I didn't look back. I just raised my fingers to wipe away a single tear from the corner of my eye. I thought, perhaps at this point, I had truly completed his mother's task. I had taught Zayu his final lesson. A few years later, I returned to the country and joined a national confidential research institution. I began a life of endless academic research. It was tiring, but also very happy. I just didn't expect the first acquaintance I would meet back home to be Zhang Chun. Ever since she disappeared, the plot might have changed, and the bullet comments had vanished as well. Zhang Chun had become a writer, and her new book was about women's rights. I was utterly astonished. In a coffee shop, Zhang Chun told me about her experiences over the years, how her mindset had changed, and how she had embarked on the path of writing. As she spoke, she stood up, bowed 90 degrees, and said thank you to me. I dodged to the side, because the person Zhang Chun should be thanking was not someone else, but herself. As we parted, Zhang Chun told me that although she was insignificant and the awakening of a single woman was not prominent, a single spark could start a prairie fire. The future would only get better. I smiled and nodded in reply. Yes, I believed so too. The next day, when I saw Zayu outside the research institute, I knew I had been deceived by Zhang Chun's harmless appearance. That little rascal had sold me out. Zayu was dressed in a suit, leaning against a black Bentley. The flamboyance of the past was gone, replaced by a mature and steady demeanor that made him seem like a different person. His handsome face, which I used to be able to read at a glance, was now serious and unsmiling. When our eyes met, he just gave a polite nod. Long time no see. After so many years together, even if we couldn't be lovers, we were old friends. I had lunch with him. His mother had now retired, and Zayu was in charge of the entire company. After leading the employees into new fields, the company's market value continued to rise, and Zayu had become an entrepreneur who could grace the covers of financial magazines. I was happy to see him doing well, but it also meant that Zayu no longer needed me. Of course, I no longer needed the Zai family's charity either. With my research achievements, the talent award money from the government was enough for me to live several lifetimes. After a few years apart, Zayu and I had become equals. Zayu took a sip of red wine and asked casually, "Do you have a boyfriend?" I shrugged. I'd have to have the time for that, CEO Zai. He chuckled, his expression light, without the nervous excitement of the past. And I didn't tease him as I used to, asking if he still liked me. After the meal, I watched him walk towards his car from the restaurant entrance. Looking at Zayu's tall and straight back, I was inexplicably reminded of when we first met years ago. After meeting at a friend's party, Zayu wanted to ask me out but was too proud and shy. He had also walked away without looking back, just like this, for a long distance, before suddenly turning around. He had stammered, asking if we could have dinner together the next day. The sun was bright that day, the young man's face was flushed, his limbs were stiff, and he didn't dare to look at me for more than a second. I will always remember that scene, and the sound of my own heart beating like a drum in my chest. Coming back to my senses, I shook my head and smiled, feeling a sense of release. I turned to walk towards my own car. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind me. I turned to look. Zai stood there with his hands in his pockets, as if he had returned to his spirited younger self. "Miss Yao, would you do me the honor of letting me treat you to dinner again tomorrow?" I blinked and burst out laughing. Zai also grinned, showing a mouthful of white teeth, overlapping with the image of the cocky young man from my memory. We looked at each other and smiled. Time flies and people change. Fortunately, we had all changed for the better. Sometimes, a separation isn't an end, but a prelude to a better reunion. I am a pessimist, but now I suddenly began to look forward to those better futures.